And this was actually the product that made me want to make this video in the first place. I feel like we just have to talk about it. What is up, guys? Welcome back. My regrowth right here from postpartum is so messy. Like, it just looks so messy all the time. You cannot make hair that isn't there. So I posted about this on my Instagram and I asked you guys if you were interested, and so many people were like, yes, absolutely. That photo got a ton of likes because of that, I guess. I asked if you guys would be interested in a video of products that I had changed my mind on. And this actually, I feel like, ties in really closely and in like a timely way to my declutter, because in a lot of ways, there are things that I have either decluttered or chosen to keep because of those changed feelings, and it kind of all, like, that decision tends to all kind of happen at once. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 products, I believe, here in front of me, a nice even number. And some of them I changed my mind because I didn't like them at first, and now I do. And some of them I liked at first, and then I just kind of outgrew them. So no shade on these brands. I'll try to provide as much context as I possibly can for these. In fact, they'll probably get me off to the races as far as, you know, just going off on tangents. You guys know me. But figured that this would be a lot of fun. And I did actually apply a few of these, some of the winners, and I will insert that footage throughout the video as we go. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, I think that I will just go in order of the way that I would put them on my face. So I actually have quite a few complexion products here, and I think that it is because I went from feeling like I needed to personally identify with my complexion product aesthetic to being like, I can appreciate a lot of different finishes, coverage levels in different contexts. And I guess just kind of growing in my skills, that's gonna be a current that runs through all of this, is not just that my tastes have changed, but also doing this as my job, either part-time or now full-time, for as many years as I have, naturally my skills are going to improve over time. Like, if you give a crap about something and you're investing that much time in it, you're gonna get a little better at it. You know, it's just what happens. So all that to say, the first one, I did kind of allude to this in my declutter video, but this is the Cosas Tinted Face Oil, and I ended up holding on to this because it is something that is very important to, like, landmark from a formula standpoint and have as part of my archive. That said, when this first came out, it was groundbreaking. And for context, if you're new to my channel, I did only clean beauty in 2019. And even as I hear myself say those words, clean beauty, I realize, like, what a contradiction it is anymore to speak about things that way. No one really uses that terminology anymore. But my point is, everything that year was contextualized within this mindset that this year was going to be the beginning of a new era for me, where I was going to focus on these brands that had limited ingredient lists, and I was going to find the best of the best in terms of performance, because this is something that really matters. Turns out it doesn't really matter that much, and in fact, my skin was more likely to react to a lot of those products that claim to be clean because of the ingredients that they used to supplant other ingredients that were deemed evil, etc. I've come a long way. We have learned. I'm not necessarily saying one is evil or the other is evil. I'm just saying that my contextualization of performance was a lot lower. And this being as different as it is, or was at the time, was very impressive to me, and I loved the idea of something being this simple and also performing pretty well, having a nice finish to it. Essentially, when you look at the ingredients on this product, it is really nice skincare oils and some minerals, okay? And there is not a whole lot of technology here. And for that reason, you know, this is what came to be known on my channel as, like, very luxury dirt and oil. That is not meant to shade this product. Those are just the facts. And I have outgrown this formula because it's so simple, and because for me, it just doesn't wear for very long. And because there are no silicones, waxes, anything that's going to be more stable at room temperature than, like, liquid, it doesn't have any kind of, like, long wearing effect. It just kind of exists on your skin. And for that reason, the technology or lack thereof for me, kind of lost its luster. I was like, you know, there are just other things out there that I feel like are better performing, better uses of my money. But I do want to acknowledge that this was a landmark. And there are a couple other brands, Vapor and Josie Maran, that make one just like this in terms of performance. And there still are a lot of people who really, really appreciate the simplicity of this. One of the really cool things about the Cosas tinted oil is that it is like self-leveling in some strange way. You can almost put it on without a mirror. It just disappears into your skin. So for people who like, it's like, oh, I like no makeup. There are people who like genuinely don't want to wear makeup, but they kind of feel like they have to for one reason or another, you know, like being on a Zoom call or like picking their kid up from school or whatever. And you just feel like, I might as well put in like a little bit of effort. This can be incredible for you. It's just like from a performance, fun standpoint, like I can no longer say, yes, go spend your money on this. And I do also want to contextualize that entire comment inside of the fact that Cosas has really grown since the initial release of this product. Cosas is a brand that started out really branding itself as clean and putting out a lot of these very like dewy, of that moment kind of products in, I guess, 2018, 2019. And as they have grown, they have adapted, I feel like, in a really graceful manner to the wants and needs of the people who like their brand a lot. And so they haven't really made a lot of sacrifices, I feel like, in terms of their original intent and their original identity and their original aesthetic, but just the performance of the products are better, you know, and their packaging is like kind of a little more Gen Z now. But regardless, this was, you know, a really, really great product, but I'm like kind of over it. And another clean beauty foundation that blew my mind within the same context, I'm not going to do the whole spiel again, but in 2019, this was one of the best performing foundations that I had ever used. So this is the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation, and it's pretty full coverage for what it is. Well, let's get the other one off my hand first. And then we can put this one on. Because they came out with the Super Serum Skin Tint, which I do still very much love. It is such a multi-purpose product that's super dewy, but also has sunscreen, no silicones. I don't think it even has coconut in it. And this was, it was a time period where we were like, okay, there's clean beauty that's a clean aesthetic, and then there's clean beauty that performs like prestige beauty. And this was more in the clean beauty that performs like prestige beauty. And the reason that I even met this brand was because they were in the new Clean at Sephora marquee counter, where it was like, these brands are gonna blow your mind, but they have really good ingredients. They're clean brands, whatever. And for that reason, I was more inclined to really enjoy this, and I do really enjoy this for what it is in that sense. But first, I started to hear a lot of reviews from you guys who, this is my nightmare, people buying something that I ranted and raved about and telling me that it was like really temperamental and awful for them. And I'm like, ah, crap, okay, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board, because I needed to examine, I guess, like all of the different variables that were causing it to work for me or not work for other people or whatever. And I asked a lot of people what was going on. And honestly, it just seems to only work for like a few skin types. Your skin needs to be sort of dry, but not dehydrated, because it'll like cling to dry spots. If your skin is oily, it's gonna accentuate that. And if your skin is at all like changing temperatures through the day, it's gonna just kind of get molten again. It doesn't love powder, but it kind of needs powder to be long wearing. And so the temperamentality that I got as like answers from you guys was what started me on the decline for this, because it's a very, very, I think it's $54 for this. That was what started to kind of like, I don't know, crack the veneer for me with this. But I am glad to see that there are so many kind of diverse formulas. I have tried a lot of stuff from them that I do love, and I am overdue for another like full face of Ilia Best and Worst. They have so many products on offer, and so it's like I can do a different one each time, like with a completely different group of products. But because this was like a community crowdsourced opinion, that this was just really temperamental and difficult to work with, and the fact that I've gone back to using a lot more conventional beauty where I can find foundations that just work so much better for so many more people, I have stopped really recommending this. Okay, another foundation that used to be such a ride or die for me, and I don't know what happened, but like, okay, this is the Becca Skin Love, and I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll be quick about this because Becca is going away next month anyway, but like, I I got rid of this right at the end of 2018 because I was like, no, I need to do clean beauty, and blah, 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 and like, you know, purged my collection. I was an idiot, okay? It's fine. I'm glad I did it because it really familiarized me with a lot of the like fact and fiction of the whole industry. But I rebought this and I just don't really remember what I found appealing about it. It's kind of a coat of shellac. Like, maybe it's the wrong color for me, but it reminds me a lot of the e.l.f. CC cream in the sense where I'm like, this is gonna be light and my skin's gonna breathe, and like, no, it is a shellacking of product. By the way, guys, the reason all of these look too light for me is because I have the Fenty body sauce on. So like, if you're looking at all that, you're like, yeah, of course it looks like shellac khaki. You have them all in the wrong color. I have, you know, body makeup on right now to make me look tan. I'm like obsessed with it since Kate the Great made me buy it. I mean, she did. She asked me to buy it, you know, for that collab that we did. I've been completely obsessed with it and I can't stop wearing it. So yeah, that's why this looks different from my arm. But my point is, it has taken on this, like, in my mind, it went from being something that was so like adaptive and silicone-y and pretty to kind of something that dries down too fast and sort of looks like paint. You know what I mean? It kind of sits on the top of my skin. I don't know if the formula is old or whether my tastes just changed, but I'm no longer impressed by it. I'm sure I could make it work, but I'm no longer impressed by it. Okay, here is the one that I'm actually wearing today, and this was one that I trashed right when it came out, and I proved it, okay? I got my vlogging camera out in natural light and showed just what a, like, sunken husk of a human this made me look like at the end of the day. I looked dead. It made my skin look all dry and wrinkly and everything. I was pregnant. So, I mean, I don't really know if that had anything to do with it. My skin had like 500 personalities throughout my pregnancy, but a lot of the feedback that I got about that review was people being like, you need to use the illuminating primer if you have dry skin. And I was like, I shouldn't have to use a primer in order to make a foundation work. Yada, yada, yada. For whatever reason, I don't think it's necessarily the primer as much as it is I just needed to do my skin prep sooner, like closer in time to putting this on. And for whatever reason, I was just kind of waiting till like mid-morning or something after just like going about my life and never drinking enough water before I tried this. And I think I applied it with like a sponge. I put it on with a brush today on top of the body sauce, which was like on top of a really good like dewy SPF. And for whatever reason, I can find nothing to complain about with this anymore. Like, I don't even know what I did initially to make it perform that way. And so I just have to like give a mea culpa, because not only is this a pretty stinking good foundation as far as medium coverage, just like a great medium coverage foundation, it comes in 9 million shades roughly, and it's pretty freaking affordable for, you know, Sephora and prestige beauty and what we're used to. And I just think that Selena Gomez came out guns blazing. She's had a couple of like little weird off the wall things where I'm like, that's what you chose to do as far as the brand is concerned, but like everything has felt really sincere and from the heart. And I wanted so badly to like this and was so disappointed at first that I didn't the first few times that I wore it. And I'm just so glad that I've come around to it. And I don't feel like it's all the way to the end of finicky, you know, like, oh, you have to do 5 different things to make it work. It's like I had done whatever the perfect storm was that day or those few days that I tried it to make it not work and to make it look, I made me look like a sarcophagus, you know? So, yeah, I really, really like this now. It's a great coverage level and the shade match is phenomenal. I'm a 130N. And finally in the complexion category, I talked about this in my declutter recently too. I said, you know, if I recall correctly, the reason that I don't like the Ilia concealer, and I decluttered it once, it's such a pattern with me in Ilia, is because it's medium coverage. And I used to have absolutely no patience for a medium coverage concealer. My tastes have changed. That's all. I don't necessarily like completely eschew a full coverage concealer. I just have a wider recognition of purpose for different finishes and different coverage levels in my complexion collection now than I used to. I don't have like one look. I've broadened my taste level, and I also think that like there can be uses for multiple shades and multiple formulas in the same face of makeup, whether it be for under eye concealing or for blemish concealing or just for like contour and highlight and things like that. So I used this, and I've used it a couple times since my declutter. I used it today and it blends like a dream. You know, I love the Tarte C Hydro Sealer. I love the Thrive, it's somewhere, the new Thrive one, and the Cosas as well. Cosas is just a little bit higher coverage, but regardless, this has become a formula type that is a lot more appealing to me now. And I do feel like it's enough coverage that I'm not like, where did it go? You know, there are definitely concealers like that, and it wasn't disappointing on that level. So this is the True Skin Serum Concealer. The other disappointment was just that that foundation was pretty high coverage, and then I felt like this was a mismatch for that. But now that I take it out of context, I really, really like it, and I'm glad that I have it. And I have this in the shade, oh dear, Arrowroot. Okay, so that concludes the complexion products. Now we will move into one cheek product. This is gonna be blasphemy, but you know, I became a Glossier rep back in 2017, and this was the most innovative formula I had ever tried, the Glossier Cloud Paint. This is the shade Haze. It was just the one I happened to pull out of my collection. While I do still appreciate these, again, as a landmark for what they do, and they are long wearing in a nice way, I just feel like they're not that unique anymore. I used to say this was like an undupable formula, and not only do I not really care about people trying to dupe it anymore, it's more so that like it does have some finicks to it that I feel like have been solved by other formulas. And for that reason, I really have stopped reaching for cloud paint. So the main one being the fact that like you cannot, maybe it's the packaging or maybe it's the formula, but like you can never get little enough of it on your skin. And that kind of drives me crazy about it because I always feel like I'm wiping half of it off and then my whole face is pink. And then I feel like my face eats it and I end up having to put more of it on. And it's this weird, like, it's like I'm sitting there going, it's too much blush, it's not enough blush. It's too much blush, it's not enough blush. And it's just a very, very strange process. So I have found that like the Lisa Eldridge is easier to work with, even if the shades are not as nuanced. This does have a really nuanced shade range. I will give them that for sure. And it's great. It's $18, you know, or you can get 2 for less than that, 2 for $30, I think. It's not a horrible product at all, but like the Daniel Sandler gel colors, they mimic the shades of these pretty well, and I feel like they're much easier to work with, easier to dispense, easier to blend. Here, I'll just show you. I'll just dot it a little bit. But it's not, like I said, it's not a bad product. It's just tough to control. That's all. I have just easier to use blushes, and while I do fully still own the fact that this was very, very groundbreaking at the time, I feel like the industry has moved on, and this formula is not as unique as it once was, and it is not the category leader that it once was. I'm dethroning you, Cloud Paint, but we appreciate you for paving the way. Another Cosas product, and you know, I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about the foundation. This is just, again, one that I pulled. This is Velvet Melon High Intensity, the more saturated one. While I appreciate the fact that yes, they did the high intensity I do have to put less on, that kind of thing. This is a formula that again is very, very low tech. This is the Cosas Color and Light Cream. Super low tech and doesn't really, I mean, yes, I'm pretty sure it has like oils and waxes and stuff because obviously it's, you know, solid at room temperature, but it is soupy, like very, very sensitive to warm temperatures, you know, even your fingers. And so like, when you do get this on your skin, there is no dry down at all. And like that can be fine unless you're really trying to build up a lot of color, a lot of saturation, and it gets gummy. It gets mucky sooner than a lot of blushes that I, you know, personally love. And I think that, you know, I've talked about this before. I kind of borrow the terminology from State of Kate. It's like this hybrid satin formula that's like not a cream or a powder. That's my favorite. Like that's what I'm kind of going for now. And again, it's like a change in my tastes, but also just like a lessening in my tolerance for my face being sticky all the time. So whatever I can do to kind of solve that without losing like the luster and the healthy like juiciness of my skin, but actual juiciness actual shine, actual stickiness is no longer appealing to me. And so, you know, again, these are not inexpensive, and I just don't, that's why I don't really reach for them or talk about them anymore, even though another range with incredibly nuanced shades. So beautiful, like worth it in that sense for sure. All right, we have a couple of eye products. One is the iconic chrome pigment paint from Illamasqua. Now, you guys are like, Kak, you love those. I loved the wearable colors, the ones that were like skin tone, blush tone, whatever, like that were very, very easy. Alluring, and maybe one more. This one's OMG, so it's not at all difficult to wear. It's kind of their, again, one of their like marquee shades. They do this shade in a ton of different formulas, but this is just happens to be the one that I pulled. I do want to mention that the other shades, the like green, I will throw a picture of it up on the screen. They have a really, really beautiful green called Avant-Garde. They have some that kind of shift blue and periwinkle and stuff like that. And at first I was like, no, these are just too weird and the finishes are inconsistent. One is more pigmented than the other. I just can't get into these. I realized that like they were actually bridging the gap for me between a formula that I am more comfortable with and trying some different colors on my eyes than I'm used to, and I ended up really, really enjoying them. So I do think I maintain the fact that they are still different, that like Alluring is more richly pigmented than some of the other ones, and I invite you to go watch that video. You can really see me like swatch everything in real time. But the weird, wacky shifting colors that I found to be, you know, not really a match for me have become something where I'm like very enabled to experiment, and the experimentation pretty much always goes well, you know, in a way that I didn't expect. And so I really appreciate Illamasqua. Another brand, it's kind of funny, another brand that is so nuanced in their shade choices. Like their stuff is just not straight down the middle of what you would expect. All their stuff has some really, really cool little like twists here and there. And that is why I just kind of, you know, stay paying attention to their brand. You might have been looking at my eyes this whole time being like, Kaki, that's kind of a look. Like that's more look than you usually come in here with. And this was actually the product that made me want to make this video in the first place. I feel like we just have to talk about it. This is the Tati Beauty Palette, volume 1 of 1 at this moment. She did a Q&A the other day and basically talked about how she couldn't talk about it with Tati Beauty, that there's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on. That said, when I first reviewed this, I said Tati loves a professional formula. She loves a Natasha Denona eyeshadow, and that's what these make me think of. And for that reason, I just didn't want to warm up to them. I found that the mattes were kind of hard to blend, and that the colors were not really like as mixable as I thought, or as they were supposed to be. Like you were supposed to be able to get like a ton of different, like any color story you wanted out of this palette. My skills have come a long way, and my tools have come a long way. I don't remember what brushes I used in that video, but I want to say that they were not as high quality as some of the eye brushes that I have now. Brushes that do a lot of the work for you kind of thing. And I have reached for this again, and I have found it's just a pleasure. It's a pleasure of a palette. It does skew warm, and so that is why I've kind of gone more towards the purples, and I'm still not very good at mixing black with things in order to richen them. I'm better at using like the deep browns and stuff, but the gorgeous like differences between each of these shades in the palette and the performance, honestly, of all of them is unmatched by anything else that I have for what she was going for. Like nothing else is like this. Tons of people try and make, tons of brands try and make really practical palettes a lot of times. And this just is like, it seems to be born of necessity in the sense that like Tati said, I wish that someone would make this, and so she did. And I have to give her credit because this, years later, is still standing the test of time in my collection. It's just a good palette. And I'm saying I changed my mind on it too, because at one point I think I was gonna declutter it. I had lost so much faith in Tati because, not because like she was wrong or she was right. That is not a concern anymore. That was a whole mess involving a bunch of characters that I have absolutely no interest in. But I was deeply disappointed in the fact that she was beguiled by whatever was happening there enough that I felt like, sacrificed her values to participate in it. And it just kind of continued to like snowball on itself. And now that she's come back, I do feel a certain like renewed sense of sensitivity and empathy for Tati because she sees that too. And I think that because we all discovered Tati, I don't know, most of us discovered Tati when she already had a lot of notoriety. She kind of went viral all of a sudden with her WTF series, that it was hard, even when she was like, you know, quirky and off the cuff and a little chaotic, to see her as normal, you know, relatable. It was always like, oh, she's trying to be quirky. Oh, she's trying to be relatable. She's, you know, rich and above us and a celebrity and whatever. And for whatever reason, you know, that way that we've been conditioned through like the media's portrayal of women and things like that, it made it very easy to just categorize her, just be like, man, it's binary. Like she just disappoints me and I'm writing her off and whatever. And I have found that like watching her now and watching her be so honest, I'm like, she's always been who she is. We put her on that pedestal. And yeah, she internalized it. She did. She started to think of herself as a celebrity, I think. But that she's like all of that like fallibility that we thought was really like faux fallibility, it's pretty sincere. And that she is, I mean, you can tell because even though she came back, she's still using a skin filter. Like there's insecurity there, you know? And it's like, I don't think that insecurity is like something that, you know, anyone needs to be punished for. It's completely natural and human and everybody has it. But it's easy to think someone like Tati isn't going to have insecurities because she is so beautiful and because she is so famous, because she is so successful and what have you. And I think that's also, side note, like why people love watching someone fall from grace that they think is kind of, you know, better than them or whatever. But I guess my point is, like, watching her now, I don't necessarily relate to her content any more than I ever did. And her makeup style hasn't changed. She is not making as many videos. And so the fact that she's always had like a format of only doing first impressions feels a little bit less, maybe a lot less useful. But I realized that like, I still choose to watch her content because I like her, you know? I just like her. I don't even want to do my makeup like her. I don't want to buy the makeup she's using. I can't see how it's performing anyway because of the skin filter. Everything looks perfect. And like I'm trying to get away from that as hard as I can. I want you guys to see my pores. I want you guys to see my whatever. But that whole thing like has made me think like, okay, like Tati is not just a human being who has really gone through all of this stuff and is having a tough time putting herself out there anyway, but also I still like her in spite of the fact that I can't relate to her content anymore. And that to me made me like want to correct the record on this palette because at one point I was like, I'm getting rid of this palette because I'm so disappointed in Tati. And I'm just like, you know what? She's a human being and I am guilty of putting her on this pedestal where like my expectations of her were completely outsized just because she had a really big audience, you know? So yeah, I'm still using this palette and I think it's cute. That was my Tati spiel. I have one last product and it's the one that I'm wearing on my lips right now. If any of you has been looking at this and you're like, what is that lovely, nuanced, cool tone shade of bricky lavender she has on her lips? It is this teeny tiny little package of the Fit Glow Beauty Lip Serum. I don't know how many of you guys probably unsubscribed to me or at least like deep eye rolled at me for the longest time because I was like, I will never spend my money on a Fit Glow lip serum. They cannot be that good. They are stupid and overpriced because they're $42. Then State of Kate just had the brand send me a bunch of stuff. These cute little, this came as a little ornament. It was a clear, this one, and another one. This is the shade Root. And then also had some of the lip liners sent to me and I was like, fine, I'll try it. And then I was like, dang it, it's really good, dang it. And I think I had already tried Rowan at that point and I was like, okay, it's that lip balm, liquid lip balm, lip serum kind of vibe where it actually really nourishes your lips and it's also very, very pretty. I consider Kate Gardner, State of Kate, to be a reasonably sane human being, and then you see her collection of lip serums and you're like, girl, there's a lot of money sunk into that freaking lip serum collection because they're her just favorite thing in the whole world. And I just want to correct the record on these and say, I get it. I get it. They are super nourishing, they're super nice, and the $42, first of all, yes, you can get a good bit of discounts on the Fit Glow Beauty website. Their stuff is pretty overpriced, but they do run discounts. But the other thing is the amount of product that you're getting. If you are a voracious consumer of this product the way that Kate is, you are going to really make the most out of that amount of product before it expires. I have no idea what the expiration is on this because it's like a little sample size, but I will repurchase this, especially this color. I'm gonna put some more on. Oh, they smell like vanilla. I mean, you had me at hello. So that is that. It is not often that you catch me just raving about a pretty saturated lip gloss, but that is just out of this world gorgeous. So thank you to Kate for honestly kind of influencing me by force to appreciate this fantastic formula that I just had a hang up in my brain about, okay? Hang up over. So yeah, my computer's about to die, but I just wanted to say thank you guys for your feedback. Otherwise I would never have known that this was a video that you guys would be interested in. I hope you did enjoy it, found it valuable. Let me know in the comments below things that you changed your mind about in your collection. And if you did enjoy this, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching, for hanging out with me today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.